Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex P. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys for Tuesday, March the 5th, presented by Boston Hemp Inc. Ian Cameron and Matt Robinson with you to break down the Tuesday card. Alex, on the men today, a little under the weather, not under the weather, but and a little bit of leg pain, if you will. But he's in the chat. He'll be contributing there with his thoughts on the games, and we'll have him back tomorrow on the show. Great Tuesday card as usual. We've got a shit ton of games on a Tuesday night, which is more of the same as usual. And we'll look back on Monday. But first, Matt, obviously, we haven't talked to you on this show, at least since last Thursday, because you were on Tuesdays and Thursdays every week. But we do have to ask, in case people weren't aware of it, Matt Robinson made his return to Senior A hockey in Reno, Nevada over the weekend. It came out of retirement. And to me, and I was saying to him, this is bigger and better than Mario Lemieux, for fuck's sakes, coming out of retirement. Like 20 years ago. This is a big time stuff because you hadn't played, Matt, Senior A hockey in quite some time. Tell us how that went for you.
Yeah, obviously I'd been out of the lineup since like the end of October when I hurt my shoulder. Wasn't really sure I was going to play the rest of the year, but we had Sun Valley in town. They're a pretty good team. A lot of, ex-pro guys and D1 guys. Which tends to be a little cleaner game. One thing I've noticed with Senior A is there's, guys that have played real hockey that are out there to play competitive hockey and, play hard, but, within the rules. And then, you always get these guys that are maybe never played juniors and then they hear they can hit and they're, 250 pounds just trying to run guys over. So you didn't get any of that this weekend. It was a really clean game. We ended up losing 7-5, but as I mentioned to you pre-show, we had a couple leads in the game. I was able to chip in offensively a little bit with the boys. So all in all, it was great to be back out there. We had a pretty gnarly blizzard here in the Tahoe area this weekend. I'm sure some people have seen on the news. But even in South Reno, we got, 2 feet of snow in a 48-hour span. And there was still, a packed house of fans there. So shout outs to the fans of the Reno Ice Raiders. It's awesome that they made it out despite the weather. And it was good to be back on the ice with the boys. That's
really cool to hear that. So attendance was great. Place was packed. Place was into it. And on a day where the weather wasn't great in Reno, it was a snowstorm that day. So to have that kind of support from the locals, man, that's pretty cool. That's wicked. And you thought you were going to get killed in the game, your team, as you were saying. You were worried about it because they were a loaded team. And you end up, hey, you'll take a 7-5 loss with you chipping in offensively, getting on the score sheet. And at the end of the day, as I said to you before the show, fuck the score. You're with the boys. You're playing Senior A hockey again, having a good time. That's what it's all about, right?
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, Friday night, they played before I played, because again, I wasn't sure I was even going to play the rest of the season with my shoulder. And then there was a couple guys that went down with injuries. So then I popped in, but the Friday game was a 8-2. So that's why, I figured, hey, we're short guys. They already lost to them 8-2, but the team played great. I mean, we had a lot of guys chipping in that, we had a lot of guys chipping in across the board. All of our defensive players played really well. Our goalie stood on his head, despite it being a 7-5 game. For those that don't watch Senior A or, low-level semi-pro, that's a pretty typical score. You don't see a lot of 2-1 games in Senior A. There's a mix of level
My
of
team
players.
Got Dundas 10-5 last week. Yeah.
You don't. You don't maybe play defensively as tight as like a real professional game or anything like that. You got defensemen that might be in their 40s with a guy that just got out of college. He beats them wide, things like that. So there's always a lot of chances, but our goalie stood on his head. So despite the score, but yeah, it was great being back in the locker room. Got to go out for some beers afterwards with the guys. So it felt good to be back out there.
Yeah, if there's one of those shot chart maps or heat maps for high danger chances that occur in a Senior A men's game, I mean, it's probably like off the chart. The chart's going to explode, basically. Yeah, with all the high danger chances that these poor goalies are going to have to see on a nightly. Because you're right, it is kind of pond hockey, kind of wide open. I know it's like that for my Dundas Real McCoys here, Senior A here in Ontario. Like I said, they lost to the Wentworth Griffins 10-5 last week, and it was just 15 goals in the game. And there's a lot of 6-5, 7-6, 7-8, 8-7, 8-6 type of hockey. See it a lot, and it sounds like it's a lot the same there in Reno. Good stuff. So, Matt, a successful return to the Senior A ranks. I can't say it was a successful return for me to the betting board last night. It was kind of up and down, right around break even for the night, although there were some results that definitely helped, including the Florida Panthers. We knew what we were doing, making them the best bet on the show yesterday. You don't bet against those motherfuckers on the road. It's as simple as that. What are they now? 21 road wins now on the season. Number 1 in the NHL as far as road record is concerned. Same shit I talked about yesterday. Don't you dare fade them on the road. And terrific hockey game. And the Rangers, full marks for their effort as well. But a lot of the Ranger damage was power play. I thought at 5-on-5, Florida dictated the play a lot more. Florida was probably the better 5-on strength team last night. They're the best team in the East right now, period. Okay, there's no debate whatsoever. They're the team to beat in the Eastern Conference. They're playing at a Stanley Cup caliber level, and they've been playing at that level now for about a month or two. Very impressive win, 4-2. Bobrovsky solid in net. Panthers opportunistic. Igor Shesterkin was having a good game until he's got to have that with Ryan Lomberg. That shot that he allowed just inside the blue line. You got to have that save if you're Shesterkin. Other than that, he played pretty well. The Rangers, again, close game, tight game. Florida found a way and got the 4-2 win over the New York Rangers. Very feisty game. And how about the fact that for the first time in his young career, I think everybody now when the Rangers play expect Matt Rempe to fight now every game because he's just fought so many times. But Jonah Gadjevich kind of went up to him during the game, got in his face, pushing him, shoving him, tried to get him to drop his gloves. Matt Rempe declined this time. And I actually like seeing him do that every now and then. Okay, we all we love fights. I love fights in the sport. I think Matt loves fights in the sport. Alex loves fights in the sport. But you have to also, when you're this kid and you've had to deal with a ton of fucking tough bricks so far with Olivier and Delorier and Ryan Reeves, and you've gone down the gauntlet of some of the toughest SOBs in the National Hockey League, and you see the results. He's got a shiner. He's got welts all over his face. You do have to be a little bit more selective. I'm not saying, stop fighting for the next 3 weeks or month. You just have to be a little bit more cautious, a little bit more selective. You got to be more of a spot picker, if you will, if you're Matt Rempe. And that, to me, is, I think, kind of what he said. We've gone through the gauntlet here. It's not the right time in the game. I think it was still scoreless at the time, or it was a 1-1 or something like that when that encounter with Gadjevich happened. So we figured, let's pump the brakes. Maybe down the road we'll hook up and we'll end up dropping the mitts. But he figured at that time last night, not the best time to do it. But it was an entertaining game, physical, scrums after the whistle, outstanding, back and forth, close game throughout. That is definitely a situation after seeing that game last night, and I know Alex remarked about it too. Wouldn't mind seeing a playoff series or an Eastern Conference final with those two teams. Certainly it would be a good series, and it was a great game last night, 4-2 for the Florida Panthers. Well, got to be official. It's official now. I'm a little bit concerned for the Vegas Golden Knights. I mean, 6-3 loss to the Columbus Blue Jackets last night. Aiden Hill, a couple of bad goals he probably should have had. He hasn't been consistent as of late. There's no really excuse. The blue line's healthy. They're just not playing good defense right now. And I go back to Mark Stone being out. And they did get Jack Eichel back last night. He made his return, last-minute return to the lineup. Didn't really help things much last night, at least for the Golden Knights. But we said this on the show yesterday. Mark Stone's defensive ability is missed. He's one of the best defensive forwards in the NHL. He's great at taking the puck away. He's great at forcing turnovers, and they really miss that guy defensively. They have gone over the total, Matt, in every game since Mark Stone got injured. So 6 games without Mark Stone. They're 6-0 to the over in their last 6 games. Another over last night. I did grab the over 6.5 small, but much of my money with the puck line and the team total, and both of those fell short. But yeah, they're struggling defensively. They're an over team now until they tighten this defense up right now, and they are not doing it at the moment. Credit to Columbus, though. Nice 6-3 victory. And Tarasov actually played well. 40 shots for Vegas. They did have chances. Offensively, they had tons of opportunities, but Vegas struggles continue. Columbus gets the 6-3 win. William Karlsson scoring. I felt so confident in that, and he ended up finding the back of the net against a team that left him unprotected in the expansion draft, as we talked about yesterday. It was Columbus that left him available for Vegas to draft him in the expansion draft. So you're always pissed off. You always have an extra incentive to stick it to the team that you're playing when they do that. And William Karlsson did score against Columbus, as we kind of thought he would. 2-1 St. Louis over Philadelphia. Solid victory for them in a shootout. Philadelphia looked a little lacking energy, and John Tortorella certainly said that after the game last night. So not their best performance, but hey, when they didn't have their best, they looked tired. They were still able to get a point out of it. You give them credit for that. But huge win for St. Louis because they've been kind of struggling of late. We cashed the draw in that game, Blues and Flyers. It was the only draw we hit last night, but it was nice to see that one come through with the Blues and the Flyers. And then we got Boston, Toronto. And just when you think the Leafs have the Bruins right where they want them, Bruins struggling, Bruins not playing well going into last night, Toronto on this heater coming off a big win against a great New York Rangers team. And they have the first period they had last night. No wonder the fucking fan base is tortured. No wonder they can't have the good things. No wonder they're a perpetually neurotic fan base because they have to deal with this. Just when they pull you in and have you thinking great things are on the way for the Toronto Maple Leafs, they shit the bed in that first period. That first period was a disaster. What were they outshot? 10-2, 12-2 in the first period, down 2-0 in that opening period. And then, for as much as the Boston Bruins have been struggling, you can't spot a team a 2-0 lead in the first period like that. So no doubt it's a situation where I think when you look at this Toronto team, just think they weren't ready to play that game, considering that they could have really closed the gap on the Boston Bruins. And I heard players saying that same shit. We just weren't ready at the opening puck drop. I mean, I've heard Marner and I've heard all these guys on the Leafs, this core group, say that for years. But give Boston credit, man. They got humbled, embarrassed by the New York Islanders on Saturday night, and they came out and they definitely played like it against Toronto. And they own Toronto right now. That's 3-0 in the season series for the Bruins over the Leafs. That's 6 straight that they've beaten the Leafs going back to last season. And if Toronto doesn't win the rematch in Boston 2 nights from now on Thursday night, and they go 0-4 against Boston this year, Toronto, then that's a huge blow to their psychologically and to their psyche and to their confidence if they have to play the Boston Bruins in the first round, which is a very realistic possibility that Leafs Bruins is a first round matchup this year. So they got back to good defense, Aaron, 100%. It was as tight as the team defense has been. They didn't give up the middle of the ice. They didn't give up any odd man rushes. They were good in the neutral zone last night in that game. They did all the things that you needed to win on the road and snap a losing streak, and they did that. Now, I want to play something from our good friend Zach Phillips. Zach Phillips does a Leaf post-game show. He was on our bet. He's been on our betcasts a bunch of times. He was on our last betcast, actually, late in the later part of it. He talked about a John Tavares. It was so funny and so spot on and so 100% what he said here that we're going to play it, and it's 100% fact that John Tavares after the game had this quote talking about fucking lessons the team has to learn. Think about that. This is year 8 with the core, 7 playoff seasons for Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Tavares together, Riley as the core group. And this man, the captain of the team, is talking about lessons that they have to learn from a game like last night. It's really, there's no words to describe it. It's a totally absurd, asinine statement to make that's what they're talking about after a game like that last night. So here we go with the statement here.
All right, I missed this last night. I was doing the post-game stream, but tweet that I saw from Terry Koshin about John Tavares. Playing against a team like Boston and games down the stretch, margins are very small. It's a good lesson for us today. No more of the lessons. John, Someone from the Leafs PR team, I don't even care if you are or aren't learning lessons anymore. Someone from the Leafs PR team needs to sit down with this whole team and just put a list on the board and say, here are the words you can't say. Number 1, lessons. Lessons. No more. John, you're in year 15 in the NHL. This is year 8 of this group. No more lessons. Learn your lessons. We don't want to hear about the lessons. Apply the lessons.
Zach Phillips, ladies and gentlemen, who does a very good post-game show as well, and a good friend of ours, and does a good show with Alex P. Smith, Edgework, the show that Alex is on. He's 100% right, 1,000% right. Lessons, year 8. If we applied John Tavares learning lessons in year 8 with the Toronto Maple Leafs to real-life college, this guy would be taking exams for 8 straight years in the same fucking course, and he still wouldn't have graduated at the age of 30. All right? That's what we're talking about. If you equate it to school, real life college, I mean, it's just hilarious to hear that. I mean, say anything you want about that game. We weren't ready from puck drop. We got outplayed. We got outworked. All of that's great. The Leaf fan does not want to hear lessons. They don't want to hear that. They want to see the lessons executed. This is the 8th year of this core. Enough talking about we've got lessons to learn. Execute the lessons. And as Zach said, apply the lessons on the ice. It's hilarious, but it's 100% right. But like I say, it's disappointing. Look, we can't lose sight of the big picture. Toronto's had a great month, but that's a huge, huge downer for them to come out that way against Boston and lose like that. The other games last night, 5-0 Colorado, just shellacked Chicago. I mean, no wonder Alex B. Smith is sick and not feeling well today and not joining us. He's got to watch his team get shut out by Justus Onnen in 2 games in a row. A guy that couldn't stop a beach ball for the majority of his starts before the last 2 when he faced the Chicago Blackhawks. All of a sudden, he's Marty Brodeur, back-to-back shutouts against the Chicago Blackhawks. So, but credit to him. He's actually played better, but still, to see Chicago not even get 1 goal, 2 games against Justus Onnen, and very disappointing. 5-0, just total dominance by the Colorado Avalanche in that game. And credit to Seattle. We talked about a little bit of a tricky spot that was yesterday for Calgary. You know, coming off the Mika Kiprasov ceremony, the thrilling third period comeback to beat Pittsburgh, and they weren't ready to go from the opening puck drop. Seattle was the better team early. They got the lead quickly, 1-0, and then Seattle ended up with the 4-2 win. That was a very heated and testy game. And if I'm Martin Pospisil, and look, this guy's cashed some nice goal props for me at great prices this year. And I thank him for it. And that's the part about him I like. And we've used the word anything as Pospisil to describe his play. But he's got to tone it down 100 notches with what he's doing. He's running around looking for trouble kind of thing. The first hit that he had last night on Adam Larson is already questionable enough. Very, very sketchy to make that kind of a hit along the boards. And credit to Ty Cartier of the Seattle Kraken for going after him. And he wanted a piece of his head and went after him and fought him. And then the second hit on Vince Dunn was that's as bad as it gets. Like you clearly see the numbers. You see him looking into the boards, crouch down. The numbers are staring right at you, and you just crunch him from behind into the boards. You just have to ease up at least somewhat in that situation. Martin Pospisil didn't. He got a 5-minute major in game misconduct, rightfully so. And your little brother, Matt Ryan, actually sent me a message right after that happened and said some clip about him trying to go into the crowd and fight a fan in a USHL game years ago, this guy, Martin Pospisil. So he's clearly got a little bit of a hothead type of thing going on and a little bit of loses his shit sometimes. And he did that last night for sure. He's going to face discipline, I would think, for that. But a huge win for Seattle, 4-2, as, again, they are still very much alive in the wild card race. All right, Matt, let's get some thoughts from you on last night.
Yeah, last night for me was one of those nights that I didn't have a ton of bets out there. I think I placed 4 separate bets. I did go 3-1. I did ride the Florida money line with you. It's too hard to bet against them on the road, especially at a decent price. I know New York's a great team as well, and they are playing well. Excuse me. But that was the only game that I, really planned on watching any of. I was on the Vegas team total with you, which obviously missed. can't believe they scored, 2 goals early in the second and couldn't get, to 4 goals. But I did have the over in that game, which obviously hit. So that kind of counterbalanced that bet there. And then I was on Seattle, Calgary, just because it was a 5.5 spot. I feel like, Calgary's games have been going kind of upwards as far as goals, not always for themselves, but just in general. I feel like, that 6 number was very feasible. And I mean, as you mentioned, Seattle's still in the hunt. I knew they were going to try and play well last night. So those were really the only bets I placed. Didn't really catch a lot of the action. Just was one of those weird Mondays where, I blinked and it was like 10 p.m. and didn't really catch a lot of hockey. But yeah, great card coming up tonight. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, that's pretty much all my thoughts from last night.
That's okay. It's okay to have those nights. I mean, there's hockey every night from October to April. You're not going to be dialed into it start to finish all night every night. So that's the way it's going to be. But Matt is dialed in for this Tuesday card, as am I. So let's get to it. We will begin with the Florida Panthers, the team that I won best bet with on the show yesterday. They are back in action, back-to-back, taking on the New Jersey Devils. Florida minus 120 road favorites, 6.5 the total in this game. And for those of you wondering why I have not mentioned the news of the day yesterday, because I waited for this game to talk about it. And obviously that's the totally unexpected firing of Devils head coach Lindy Ruff. And we kind of sensed it could happen after that road trip. The way it ended, it was a disastrous end, losing to Anaheim. The LA game it totally got away from them, and it totally unraveled for the New Jersey Devils against the Kings on Sunday afternoon. And there was no pushback. There was no energy whatsoever. The body language was brutal on the bench when they were drilled 5-1 by the Kings on Sunday. And you could kind of tell that this could be the writing on the wall, and this could be the last straw here to push Tom Fitzgerald, the GM, into making this coaching change. And that's exactly what ended up happening. So Lindy Ruff out, his assistant coach and former Vancouver Canucks head coach, Travis Green, is going to take over as the interim coach here for the Devils. Now, from everything I've read here, practice this morning, Travis Green's statements, they're going to make some serious line changes here. And that was sometimes an issue with Lindy Ruff. He would try to juggle lines, but some of the decisions of who to move up, who to move down, caused a lot of scrutiny. So stay tuned for this. And they haven't revealed what those changes are. So keep an eye on that going into this game here tonight. But looks like there's going to be some lineup changes. It looks like Simon Nemetz on the blue line is going to be a healthy scratch tonight. And that means Brendan Smith, it looks like, is going to come in. It will be Brendan Smith, Colin Miller, Luke Hughes, Kevin Ball, Brendan Smith, John Marino, Jonas Siegenthaler is going to be the blue line here tonight for the New Jersey Devils. It looks like, as far as goaltending for this game, Akira Schmid, who is someone that's kind of been a forgotten man this season for the New Jersey Devils. We've had a lot of Nico Dawes, and we've had a lot of Vitek Vanacek in net, but not a ton of Akira Schmid. We haven't seen him a lot. In fact, he went from December 21st to February 25th without playing. So it'll be interesting to see how he fares here. He has not started in quite some time, but remember, this is someone that came into the Rangers series in the first round of the playoffs last year, and the series changed once they went to Akira Schmid in net. So we'll see how he fares tonight in net. Now, look, from a betting standpoint, you know how I treat these games. First game with a coaching change, I ain't betting against that team the first game after the coaching change. So right away, won't be. It's for me. I cannot bet New Jersey, or I cannot bet Florida here. I cannot bet against New Jersey, but I'm not going to be on New Jersey either. Okay, because Florida on the road is a machine. I'm a little worried, a little bit, coming off the win last night against the New York Rangers, about whether they'll be able to respond here tonight. It's a tough spot. You're going to get energy. New Jersey's going to be flying out of the gate. Every team, first period, especially first game after the coaching change, that team's flying. And that team is looking to put their best foot forward. And Paul Maurice had a great quote in his postgame. He said, when they asked him what he thought about playing New Jersey on a back-to-back, he said, Well, the coaching change had just happened, and it means that the players are freed and exonerated, if you will, of all the sins of the past, if you will. It's a clean slate. He says he expects them to come out with a burr under their saddle, great energy, maybe push the play, have the better of the play early. And the thing that Paul Maurice said, to match that, we've got to come out, play smart, and we have to come out and play fast. And that was the word he used, fast, early in this game, knowing what the New Jersey Devils could bring to the ice tonight in this first game, and especially this first period with the coaching change. So right when he used that word fast, it got me thinking of a good bet for this game. And to me, it's a bet that I really, really like. Over 1.5 in the first period. I think first period over is just a tremendous look in this game because New Jersey is going to probably come out swarming in this game, push the tempo, be in the offensive zone, be on the front foot. And remember, it's Anthony Stolarz here tonight for Florida, most likely after Sergei Bobrovsky, although Stolarz has played well. But I expect New Jersey to really push the pace. They're talking about doing that. You got Paul Maurice after the win last night against the Rangers saying, if we want to match New Jersey's intensity early in the game following the coaching change, we need to play fast. So this is actually a very, very strong opinion for me. First period over, -136. Both teams to score first period makes a lot of sense to me. I think it could slow down after that. I'm not bullish about the full game over because, look, Florida games at 6.5 have not been going over the 6.5 very much lately. So I don't know if I love the full game over, but I definitely like the first period over, first period, both teams to score here in this one. I think it's a great look. New Jersey's going to be full of pent-up energy, renewed adrenaline following the coaching change, which most teams are. And I think Florida, though, can also do some damage because remember, they want to start fast. They're going to have energy. Early in the game, Florida is going to be at their best. It's usually when you're on a back-to-back, you get worse, you get weaker as the game goes on. But usually you still have your legs in the first period when you're playing that second night of a back-to-back. So I think Florida will be good early as well. So I like that first period over a lot. And the first period, both teams to score quite a bit. Lean to the full game over too, but I definitely want to have more of my action on the first period looks as far as the total in this game tonight. Matt, what do you think here in this one? Florida, New Jersey.
Yeah, so I think that we're very much on the same page here. I'm not going to take the Devils against a great Florida Panthers team on the road, but I don't really want to take Florida on the back-to-back given the coaching change in New Jersey. So basically the exact same thought process. With that being said, I love the first period over as well because I think Florida is kind of in that rhythm. It's not a long road trip. They're coming from New York, so it's a quick train ride or even a bus trip. So I don't think it's one of those, they're going to be super dead on the back-to-back or anything like that. There's no travel involved really to that point. And then, New Jersey's got to come out strong. You've got players that know they haven't played well as of the last few months. Sometimes I feel like players, kind of figure out that they don't want to play for the coach. I don't know that was that situation as much. I think, some of those players probably had respect for Lindy. And so they take it a bit personally, like, hey, we haven't been playing up to par. And they know that, but it is a fresh start. It's a new energy in the locker room. So I would look for them to come out strong. I'm going to be all over the first period over. I might split up a little bit on the both teams to score. And then for me, I don't love the over at 6.5 for the total game. But I do, if it drops to like 6 or even 5.5, I definitely will jump on it live. So if there isn't a goal in the first 5 or 6 minutes, it might be worth a look to take the game over because I do think 6 is very possible. It could be a 4-2 game, and then you push your bet, and then maybe you get lucky with an empty net, and it's a 5-2 game, something like that. But I'll probably just be on first period bets pregame, and then I'll try and check out the total live if there is a bit of a slow start. But I don't foreshadow that.
Yeah, I think we got a good chance to see 2 goals here in the first period. I really do. I think it's just going to have that kind of pace to it early in the game. Florida feeling it after the big win in Madison Square Garden. By the way, shout out to Goldie on Ice, Steve Goldstein. The call that he had on the Blomberg goal, rev up the Lamborghini on Broadway, baby. That was fantastic. That was a great call, man. He's really good. He's consistently climbed my annual broadcaster rankings in the league. That guy's Goldie on Ice with Randy Moeller, the Florida crew. Really good stuff. But yeah, I'm not betting against Florida. Simple as that. This is like, normally I want to back the team that's made the coaching change in the first game. I'm not going against Florida on the road. I've said that. I'm sticking to it, period. And they're the better of these two teams. And when you throw out the coaching change angle, this is actually and the back-to-back, which is, look, it is a rest advantage for New Jersey, but how much? It's coming off the road trip still for them out west. So it's kind of like the spots cancel out. It's not a great spot for Florida back-to-back on the road. It's also New Jersey coming off a very long road trip. How good of a spot is it for them schedule-wise? So, I just will not bet against Florida at this price on the road against anybody. Simple as that. So that's why I'm not buying into I'm not drinking the coaching change Kool-Aid from a side perspective here tonight. Just the total here. I like the first period over, first period both teams to score in this one. And as far as props go, your guess is as good as mine. Who's going to be, feeling it? Who's going to feel like a weight's off their back with the coaching change, with Lindy Ruff out and Travis Green taking over? But for me, I'm waiting to see if Alexander Holtz gets finally taken out of purgatory here, because Lindy Ruff would always put this poor guy on the fourth line whenever things were going wrong. And if he gets more of a fair shake from Travis Green tonight moving forward, there's going to be value, I think, on Alexander Holtz, goal scorer props for New Jersey. So that's definitely something I'm interested in on that side. Jack Hughes, he's one of the leaders of the team. You'd expect maybe he's going to want to play well here tonight. Toffoli and Hischier on the top line. And then for Florida, look, Reinhart had a great night last night. And another thing I didn't mention about that game, one of the assists of the year, the Alexander Barkov assist on the first Florida goal. I mean, the hand-eye coordination to pull that off is something. It's a marvel of our eyes, essentially. That's exactly what it is. It's just sensational to be able to bobble the puck like that on his stick, somehow in one motion, then swipe it over and pass it to Reinhart. It's one of the great assists you'll ever see a player make on a goal. Absolutely tremendous stuff from Sasha Barkov last night on that Florida goal. One of the great assists. But yeah, and in this game, I think, like I said, I wouldn't just knee-jerk bet the coaching angle, because you're talking about the vastly superior team where they've been at their best all year on the road and only laying -120. All right, Columbus Blue Jackets and Pittsburgh Penguins. We've got Pittsburgh -235 home favorites, 6.5 the total in this game. I don't care. I don't give a shit about Columbus being on a back-to-back. I don't give Tinker's damn that Jet Greaves is the guy in net tonight, because Merzlikins is out. They played Tarasov last night. Jet Greaves is going to get the start, and he's only had, a handful of starts in the NHL with Columbus. Give me the Jackets. Give me the draw. Dog and draw split. We cannot lay 235 with this Pittsburgh team falling apart at the seams right now. A Pittsburgh team that's going to be sellers in the next 2 days. No question about that. This is just a straight fade of a team that has zero business, laying -235 right now going into this hockey game. So yeah, Columbus and draw for me. And look, I was thoroughly impressed with the Jackets last night. Plus, with that win against Vegas. Now, Vegas is struggling, but that's still a good win against a team that was supposed to be excited, desperate off a bad game against Buffalo, with Jack Eichel back in the lineup, and Columbus still got the win there in that game. So you know what I might do too, just for a little insurance, instead of, like I've done this before, instead of putting it all on the money line, we'll also put a little on the +1.5, -120 puck line for Columbus. The plus 200 is out there. There's still +204 at Bet Online and a couple other books for that money line, and the draw, a little bit on the draw as well. But to me, this is just a exorbitant price for a guy that just is not only in bad form, is off a road trip too. First game home off a road trip out west. And of course, with all these rumors floating around that Dubas is going to trade Gensel before Friday, that every player is on the table right now for other teams. So yeah, you want to lay -235 with a team like that? I sure don't. What do you think here, Matt? Columbus, Pittsburgh.
Yeah, this is another one that I pretty much agree with you across the board. I'm definitely not laying minus 235 with Pittsburgh. I don't care if they're at home. I don't care if Columbus is on the back-to-back. I feel like after that road trip, like they've kind of packed it up. They may play well after some trades are made, get a couple wins late in the season, but I think they're in that span right now where it's just got to be tough to even go to the rink knowing that, hey, we're pretty much gonna implode and start rebuilding, especially for some of those older guys. Crosby's gonna bring an effort. He's not a guy that's just gonna like roll over and die or anything like that. But it's tough to imagine a guy like Malkin, playing well tonight in this kind of spot. So yeah, I like Columbus, especially given the value. I might sprinkle a little on Columbus money line. I could see it going to overtime, so I might sprinkle the draw, but I could also, it wouldn't surprise me if this is like a 4-0 game in the second period. Columbus is up. So I'll probably split it up just to, cover my bases. I may even take a look at, I haven't looked at what Columbus team total over is. I'm guessing it's 2.5, or is it?
Yeah, you know what? That's not a bad look too. 2.5 at minus 115, minus 120. That's pretty good.
I think, yeah, and I think if you've got to think if Columbus is going to win this game, they're definitely going to score 3 goals during the game. So may split it up, do a little Columbus money line, take the team total over 2.5, and then I might jump just a little bit on the draw, just given the spot that it is a back-to-back. We may see some extra hockey.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, when I look at this game, certainly Pittsburgh is better still than Columbus. I get it, but yeah, this is just, I'm totally comfortable taking plus 190, taking plus 1.5, and probably will sprinkle on the over 2.5 as well. That team total is very good bargain in my opinion. Over 2.5 minus 120 in this game. You know what's funny about this game? Jet Greaves, by the way, for those that don't know, he's a very good friend of Ray Bryce, our friend of the show. Ray Bryce was on with us last Monday on the show. He was a teammate of Ray's at Kalamazoo, the Kalamazoo Wings in the East Coast Hockey League. Jet Greaves, because that's Columbus's ECHL affiliate, the Kalamazoo Wings. He played down there. Ray Bryce, when he was in Kalamazoo a few years ago, had Jet Greaves as a teammate. So that's how they end up friends there. So I know Ray will be excited about Jet Greaves getting the start tonight, his buddy for Columbus in net. Maybe he's going to be able to tune in there. He's over in UK, Wolfblimey, and he's over in England there playing for Manchester, so he might get a chance to tune in, watch his buddy here tonight, get the nod in net for Columbus, because although it's going to be midnight over in UK, but I know he'll try, that's for sure. As far as the total goes right now, Columbus-Pittsburgh has trended over, so I might get in on an over 1.5, over 6.5 split. It could be that way. It could be a sloppy game for Pittsburgh, and they've kind of trended over. Defense has fallen apart big time here the last several games, so I could make a case for a higher scoring game as well with the Jackets and the Penguins. As far as props, there are some good ones in this game. Alex Nylander. Look, I don't love betting props all the time off someone off a hat trick. And he had a hat trick last night against Vegas. But he was playing against a team that just traded him. Pittsburgh gave up on him, said, we don't want you anymore. We're sending you to Columbus. How do you not take Alex Nylander tonight? Now, again, the only thing that worries me is these guys that usually have a hat trick, they don't do anything. They don't do shit the next game. So that's my one fear. But you have to bet the angle. And the angle is this guy just got traded from Pittsburgh to Columbus. He wants to make a statement, I think, tonight. First time playing the Penguins since that trade. And you could say Bemstrom on the other side for Pittsburgh. Columbus traded him away. So you got these two guys going back to play their old teams that were involved in that recent trade between the Blue Jackets and the Penguins. You got Bemstrom for Pittsburgh. What is he, plus 450 to score a goal tonight? Excuse me, at DraftKings. Really good price. Again, plus 450 for Emil Bemstrom. And then, of course, for the Mr. Hattrick, Alex Nylander. I can't call him the poor man's Nylander anymore. I always call him that, Matt. Poor man's Nylander. Alex Nylander, because, of course, William is just, heads and shoulders above him and has been his whole career. But he's not. I can't say that now. That was a hell of a performance by Alex Nylander last night. plus 440 at Bet Rivers for him to score a goal tonight for the Columbus Blue Jackets. So yeah, that's what I look at. That's the first thing that stood out to me. I'm like, well, Columbus and Pittsburgh are playing. That Bemstrom Nylander trade that just happened. Nylander from Pittsburgh to Columbus, Bemstrom from Columbus to Pittsburgh. And right away, that's what stuck out to me in this game. Those two guys maybe to find the back of the net against their former team here tonight. All right, next up, and shout out, by the way, to Eric Delarose in the chat. Jacob Delarose's brother, actually, over in Sweden, watching the show. He was in the chat earlier. Shout out to him. Thanks for tuning in. St. Louis Blues, New York Islanders. New York Islanders minus 185 home favorites, 6 the total here in this game. Yeah, the Islanders are playing better hockey, but they're not let's lay minus 185 with team, at least not for me right now at this point in time. But again, they've had a nice little run. They've won 3 in a row, beating Dallas in overtime. Your Stars last week, Matt, 5-3 Detroit on the road after that, and then a 5-1 home win against the Bruins on Saturday. And they catch the Blues off a back-to-back, winning in a shootout against Philadelphia, 2-1 last night. So, definitely a spot advantage for the Islanders, rest advantage, no question about that. Can they take advantage of it? That's going to be the question. This is going to be one of those games where St. Louis on the back-to-back, we've talked about this a lot, the first period is usually when these teams are at their best as far as coming out strong. And you could see that they lose their legs when they play on the second of a back-to-back. It's later in the game. It's the second period and especially the third period when you see them kind of, lose their legs just a little bit and, it adds up for them by that time of the game. So, but I think early in the game, there's a very good chance that we're going to see the Blues still play a pretty good game early on. If you look at series history, the Blues have beaten the Islanders actually 3 of the last 4 meetings. Including earlier this year in St. Louis. It was a 4-0 shutout for the Blues over the Islanders back on February the 22nd in this game. Goaltending is going to be Joel Hofer for St. Louis, you would think, on the back-to-back, although that's not confirmed. And Ilya Sorokin will get the nod in net here for the New York Islanders in this game tonight. As far as I'm kind of interested in both teams to score in the first period and an over 1.5 in the first period. I like that more than the full game, quite honestly, because I think the Blues will have their energy early, and then you'll see it maybe dissipate later in the game. And if the Islanders fall behind early, I will live bet the Islanders. That's going to be my approach. I don't want the Islanders at minus 185. Do I think they win the game? Yes. I think they'll get stronger as the game goes on. Blues will, peter out as the game goes on. But I don't want them at this price. My approach is nothing pregame on the Islanders. Just wait for a live money line. Maybe they fall behind 1-0 early and Blues lose their legs as the game goes on and the Islanders get stronger. We'll get a live plus money price maybe on the Islanders at some point. What do you think here, Maddie? St. Louis, New York Islanders.
Yeah, just given everything related to this game, St. Louis on the back-to-back, I just think this is probably a pass game for me. If anything, I could see a 3-3 overtime game. St. Louis is in a position where they're definitely still in the hunt, more so than the Islanders probably. But so they don't mind, if it's close, they want to get that 1 point for sure. So I could see like a 3-3 draw here, which would mean that the over would obviously hit. So I may sprinkle on the game total at 6, but yeah, I don't know. I think this is probably a pass game for me. And then if I watch a little bit of it and it looks like there's some good pace to it, then maybe I jump on a live over or something like that. But I'll probably pass as far as pregame on this one.
Yeah, I mean, that's something to look at too. If you don't like the team total, like the Islanders team total is over 3.5 at like plus 110. A lot of books offer goals against props for goaltenders. So you could take Joel Hofer over 2.5 goals against instead. That's definitely an alternative option, Tommy, no question. Something to look at. The more I look at it, because I see St. Louis has gone to overtime gone past regulation 2 of the last 3 games. We've talked about the New York Thailanders all season long, Draw Island, and how many times they've gone to overtime. This could be a draw sprinkle for me here as well. East versus West. Again, the Islanders don't care if the Blues get points, and vice versa. The Blues don't care if the Islanders get points out of this game. They're in their respective races in their conference. So plus 370 for the Blues Islanders draw. I think I'm going to get a piece of that in pocket as well. As far as props, Brock Nelson, Buchnevich on either side. I like those quite a bit. Neighbors is always worth a look too for St. Louis. And don't bet Kevin Hayes to score tonight. I doubt he's going to score a second straight game. Uncanny. The guy hasn't scored in eons. And yet, because he's playing his old team, the Philadelphia Flyers, he still managed to score for the St. Louis Blues last night. No question. All right, next up, we continue along. It is the Edmonton Oilers and the Boston Bruins. What a game this should be. Looking forward to it. Edmonton beginning an East Coast road trip, back-to-back for the Boston Bruins after a much-needed stop-the-bleeding kind of win for them last night against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Edmonton minus 125, road favorite, 6 the total in this game. So this is a nasty little sandwich spot for the Bruins here. Not that, look, it should be up for Edmonton. It's a really good hockey team here, but you beat Toronto last night. This is in between playing Toronto again Thursday night at home. So we'll see if Boston can rev it up here. It's going to be Linus Ullmark on the second night of back-to-back games for the Bruins. Skinner, we expect to be the goaltender here for Edmonton. Stuart Skinner for the Oilers. The Oilers have certainly calmed the waters again. 4 straight wins after that little rough patch they went through, beating the Kings, Blues, Kraken, and Penguins in their last 4 games. This will be their toughest foe of the bunch for sure. But I like how this sets up for Edmonton. They had a very tough, unfortunate overtime loss at home to the Boston Bruins just recently. A few weeks ago, it was a 6-5 overtime victory for the Boston Bruins in Edmonton. So you have a little revenge situation here for the Oilers. And I think they get the job done. I like Edmonton here. Minus 125, a Bruin team on a back-to-back. Revenge situation. Edmonton won in Boston last year at TD Garden as well. Oilers beat the Bruins 3-2 last year in Boston. Cashed as an underdog. And I think they cash as a modest road favorite here tonight. So Edmonton for me, minus 125. Might split it with team total as well, because the majority of times Edmonton wins a game, they score 4 goals. But I think I'll have a little more of my bet on the money line here, because I could also see 3-2, 3-1. Maybe they don't get to 4, but they do win this game. Edmonton continues to play better defensively here with Skinner in net, with a Bruin team coming in back home off a back-to-back. So, yeah, for me, Edmonton minus 125. Totals-wise in this game, it's 6.5 down to 6. I'm a little torn on the total. Boston, I still think it's 6. I don't want to bet under, because their defensive play until last night had really been struggling. Can they duplicate that is the big question. It's funny because the game in Edmonton flew over the total. But if you look, the games in Boston have been 2 unders and 2 overs in the last 4 meetings in Boston between these two teams. And funny to look that Edmonton has actually won 3 straight in Boston going back to 2020. So it's actually 3 straight visits to Boston. The Oilers have defeated the Bruins. We'll see if they can make it 4 straight here tonight. What do you think here, Matt? Edmonton, Boston.
Yeah, I definitely am on Edmonton here as well. I think Boston got a nice win last night against Toronto. It's tough to replicate, a win against a good team on a back-to-back like that. I know they're at home, so that does help. But yeah, I like Edmonton here. I'm sort of in the same boat. I'm torn on the total. I think, given the firepower of both of these teams, I know they're both playing a little tighter defensively than maybe in the past, especially on the Edmonton side. But it's tough with that many good players in the game to not jump on an over 6. What I may do, I might jump on the first period over, and then see if there's no goals in the first 5 minutes, and then see if that drops to 5.5. Just, on the off chance it's a 4-2 empty net win type of game for Edmonton. But yeah, I mean, I definitely can make a case for the over here at 6, just given the firepower of both teams. But yeah, overall, I do think Edmonton ends up winning, and I think that's a solid price for a money line. And the nice piece is if it does go to overtime and Edmonton gets the dub, you still get the win. So no need to buy down into regulation or anything like that. So But yeah, I'll be on Edmonton. I'll probably be on the first period over, and then I don't know. The 6 will be a game time decision. We'll see how the game starts out.
All right, good stuff. As far as props for this game, for Edmonton, Ryan McLeod, he's a streaky player. He got on the board the other night. I could see it continuing. I always look for the value with him and with Warren Foegele, Bouchard, players like that. You have to take Zach Hyman, though, in some form. You have to. Goal. You can even go 2 goals now and feel confident right now with the way Zach Hyman is performing for the Oilers. You can go 2 goals for Zach Hyman and, still get like 8, 9, 10 to 1 odds with that because he has just been a scoring machine. 42 goals now on the season for Zach Hyman for this Edmonton team. He's the perfect complement for Connor McDavid on that top line with his work ethic, his ability to get to the front of the net, get to the crease, find those loose pucks. It's just been a great, great fit for him there on that top line for the Edmonton Oilers, no doubt. And then for Boston, there's 2 that stand out. I'm getting geeky again. Morgan Geeky. We cashed a goal prop with Morgan Geeky last night, plus 390. He's feeling it right now. And the obvious one that we have to take, he also scored last night against Toronto. And his Pops is in the building again. And when it's Louis DeBrusk night, and it's Oilers Bruins, and Pop Louis DeBrusk, Jake DeBrusk's father, is going to be in the building calling the game for Edmonton Oilers television with my buddy Jack Michaels. Running Pittsburgh right out of the building, pulsating action. That's my Jack Michaels voice right there. Louis will be with him on Edmonton television. And what that means is it's time for Jake DeBrusk to score with Daddy in the building, because he always does. Remember in Edmonton earlier this year, Jake DeBrusk scored with Louis there, even between the benches. So, yeah, Jake DeBrusk, and look, it's been a struggle for him, but he got off the schneid last night. He's plus 360 at PointsBet to score a goal. That's a tremendous price, plus 360 at PointsBet for Jake DeBrusk. The pleasure was all ours. That's what he says at the end of every Oilers broadcast, too. That guy, man. He's something else. But yeah, that's to me a stunning price with Jake DeBrusk. I mean, Jake DeBrusk with Louis in the house, his father. It's uncanny how he scored almost every time. It's been an Oilers Bruins game with Louis working Edmonton television. So again, plus 340 at BetMGM, plus 360 at PointsBet for this Jake DeBrusk prop. I think that's just outstanding. It's one of the best goal props on the night on the board, if you ask me. No doubt about it there with that. All right, next up, we've got Montreal and Nashville. Next up here, we've got Nashville, the Red Hot Predators, who have not lost a game since that U2 concert was vetoed by Andrew Brunette, the head coach. And you would have thought, hey, maybe they revolt against that. It affects their performance in a bad way. It has done the complete opposite. They have not lost. They've been on fire. They're very much still right back in the wild card mix. Nashville minus 225, home favorites, 6 the total here in this game. It's been a great ride here with Nashville, but I am definitely not going to lay this price with them. If Nashville keeps this win streak going and we get a better price against another opponent, then we'll get back on the Nashville train. But tonight, that's not going to be the case at this price. They probably do win. Jake Allen and UC Saros, by the way, is going to be your goaltending battle in this game. Here's the thing about Nashville. During this 8-game win streak, 8-0, they have been scoring goals in bunches. They have scored at least 4 goals in every game during the win streak. Every game during the win streak. So it wouldn't surprise me to see that continue. You're getting a modest, and I mean a modest, over 3.5 team total on Nashville at minus 120 to minus 125. That's what I'm betting. I mean, I don't want anything to do with the money line here, but that Nashville team total over 3.5 for a team that has 4 goals or more in 8 straight games, all 8 games of this current win streak, they have scored at least 4 goals. So that's the clear bet for me, my favorite look in this game. Nashville with Jake Allen in net, 100%. We should be able to see Nashville get 4 goals here. Jake Allen, 5-12, 3.69 goals against average, .892 save percentage. 0-5 in his last 5 starts, 21 goals on 154 shots during that span. And like I said, he's given up 4, 4, 7 in the last 3 starts. So that's 15 goals in the last 3 starts combined, allowed by Jake Allen. Not what you want to see. Nashville team total over 3.5. I might sprinkle on first period full game over as well, because Nashville's suddenly a bit of an over team. Look, their offense is humming right now. You cannot deny that whatsoever. It's been a big reason why they've been putting this win streak together. They've gotten contributions from everyone. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Ryan O'Reilly. He's gotten a goal in 2 straight games. Points in 4 straight games for the Nashville Predators. Philip Forsberg, of course, who continues to be Mr. Consistent. He's got a 5-game point streak going on with 7 points in the last 5 games, 3 goals in the last 5 games for Phil Forsberg for the Nashville Predators. And how about our guy? We've talked about him. Don't sleep on Mr. Cody Glass Repair, Cody Glass Replace. Don't sleep on Cody Glass heating up. Hat trick against Colorado. I don't love betting players off a hat trick all the time. 4 points, though, in the last 2 games for him. He's starting to heat up right now for this Nashville team. Yossi has been a contributor from the blue line offensively. I mean, they've just got everything going right now, and that's why they've been putting up 4 goals or more in 8 straight games coming into tonight. Power play has been solid. Their 5-on-5 offense has been great. So lots to like here. And by the way, as far as in Nashville has won 1, 2, 4 straight head-to-head over Montreal here in Nashville. So this has been a tough place to win for Montreal. But rather than the money line, we're going to take this great price with Nashville team total over 3.5, minus 120. Not Alex. Alex ain't here. Maddie, Montreal and Nashville.
Yeah, I'm on the same page. I mean, I'm not going to lay minus 225 here. But it's, I'm not going to bet against Nashville on the streak either. I do like that team total over 3.5. I think that's a good look. I kind of lean towards the over here. Again, it might be one that I sort of wait for the game to start and see kind of how it's playing out. Maybe get it at a 5.5 or even a 5 if the first 10 minutes are really slow. But I could make a good case for a total here at 6. I do think Nashville scoring 4 goals is very likely. But Montreal does have a couple players that are still trying to hit their point totals and things like that. So I wouldn't be shocked if they put a couple in on that as well. So probably just going to jump on Nashville team total and the game total at 6.
All right, good stuff. Yeah, I mean, we've said this a bunch when it comes to team totals. Use the team totals method when it comes to a bigger favorite. Why would you lay minus 225 with Nashville when you can bet over 3.5, minus 120, minus 125 for a team that's actually scored 4 straight goals in 8 straight games? 4 goals or more, I should say, in 8 straight games. So definitely that is something you want to pay attention to. Roman Yossi, a lot of people are loving his props tonight. I think over 1.5 points might be worth a look. He had 3-point games against Minnesota and Ottawa, but he's gotten a point in 5 straight games for the Predators. Like I said, he's been on fire. Forsberg's been great. O'Reilly's heating up. They're getting their depth scoring. Someone's Colton Sisson's in the chat too. People talking about how he's had a good run of it against Montreal in the past, and he does have 3 points, all assists in the last 2 games for Nashville. So you could end up being. We got someone with an SOS in the chat. I don't know if it's real or not, so I'm not going to respond to it. I don't know if it's real or fake, but nevertheless, we move on. We've got certainly, Colton Sissons has done some significant damage here against the Montreal Canadiens. I can't argue with it. So there's no question that he might be worth a look as far as props are concerned. All right, next up, we've got Seattle and Winnipeg. In this really interesting game here. Seattle battling for points. Winnipeg, obviously, playing good hockey. That was a hell of a weekend for Winnipeg. Back-to-back road wins against Kakalaki and Buffalo. And now they return home. Minus 170 home favorites in this game. Total sitting at 5.5, shaded to the under. I understand why this total is 5.5. I think it's probably going to be pretty tight, low-scoring game. We saw that with Seattle we almost saw that with Seattle and Calgary. The third period, it got a little higher scoring, but the first 2 periods, it was definitely tight. Winnipeg coming back home off a road trip We will see how it goes here in this matchup here with the Kraken and the Jets. It's back-to-back for Seattle after the win in Calgary last night, but it's Winnipeg off a 3-game road trip, so it's not the greatest spot. Spots cancel out potentially here in this game. 2 of the last 3 meetings have gone past regulation, including last year in Winnipeg, last February, 3-2 Jets win over the Kraken here in Winnipeg in a shootout. The only bet for me is the draw here in this game, Seattle and Winnipeg. Matt, what do you think here? Kraken, Jets.
Yeah, this is a tough one for me. I mean, I know it's 5.5, which typically is a system play, but I've mentioned it before. When Connor Hellebuck's in net, I kind of wash that because any given night, he can get the donuts. So don't really love anything here, to be honest, ahead of the game at least. I kind of want to see how things play out. I mean, Seattle got a nice win last night. It's obviously similar to Florida. Edmonton and Winnipeg aren't crazy far, but it's still, a travel day for Seattle. So it's a little bit different. Sorry, I used the wrong wording there, but I was saying it's a little bit different, getting from Calgary to Winnipeg. Not life-changing travel or anything like that, but I definitely think Winnipeg probably wins this game if I was to take a side, but I don't want to take minus 170 against the Kraken with how they're playing as of late. So yeah, this will probably just be a pass game for me, to be honest.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Huge card. It is okay to pass. It is definitely okay to pass. For props, I'm not doing a ton here because this could be goals few and far between. It'll be Connor Hellebuck in net for Winnipeg, confirmed. Likely Joey Decord for Seattle on a back-to-back after we saw Grubauer last night. Now, note that with Decord, he hasn't been nearly as sharp, nearly as effective in his recent starts, but he was also still in that run in the schedule where he was getting most of the starts with Grubauer out. So now he's finally had time to, kind of relax, catch his breath, recharge the batteries, hit the reset button a little bit. And I know he gave up 4 goals in each of his last 2 starts, but, he hasn't played now in over a week and a half. The last 4 games were all Grubauer starts. It wouldn't surprise me if he has that recharge here tonight and plays better in net for the Seattle Kraken as well. So and remember, we talk about this all the time. Alex B. Smith, especially these goalies that aren't used to the heavy workload, they need rest, especially at this stage of the season. They need it. And now Joey Decord finally gets some time to just, regather himself, recharge his batteries, and definitely could be a situation where he plays better tonight. Goose in our chat, Tim York, Seattle, word of lost an hour. Oh, they lost an hour flying into Winnipeg. Yes, definitely because of the time change. No doubt. It's a tough spot for Seattle. There's no doubt. But we also have Winnipeg coming off a road trip too, a successful one. So it's not rush out to lay minus 170 spot with Winnipeg for me either. But the draw does make sense. I think we got a chance here for a close game, competitive. We see overtime potential. All right, next up, Chicago and Arizona in the desert. Blanked by Justus Oninen last night were the Chicago Blackhawks. They'll try to at least find the back of the net tonight at least once against the Arizona Coyotes. And look, I know Arizona's won 2 in a row after that 14-game losing streak, beating Ottawa and Washington at the end of that road trip. But my gosh, minus 250 here with the Arizona Coyotes? No, thank you. Hard pass for yours truly with that. Get that bullshit out of here, minus 250 with Arizona. There's no way I can lay that price here with the Arizona Coyotes, even after 2 wins. Coming off a road trip, too. Isn't this Malinsky special for Arizona as well? It is. 5 games. I knew that road trip was at least 4 games. Yeah, 5-game road trip that was. Winnipeg, Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa, Washington. And now you're back home. Tricky spot. That's usually a bet against spot, but I'm not taking Chicago on the road either. Back-to-back within their current ways. What have they lost? You got Arizona off this 5-game road trip. Malinsky special says bet Chicago. You want to take a Chicago team that is what? What have they lost as far as consecutive road games? It's something like 10 or 11, something like that. It hasn't been good for Chicago on the road. I'm trying to read it here and trying to find it, but I remember seeing it earlier today. But yeah, they've been brutal on the road, Chicago. At least at home, they put up a fight, and that's been critical. But on the road, it's just been very difficult for this team to win games right now. So this is an easy pass from a side perspective in this spot. Let's see who's in net here. It's probably going to be Soderblom for Chicago. Arvid Soderblom. Soderblom is how they say it, actually. Soderblom is how they say it, actually. It's weird pronunciation, but Soderblom is how they pronounce that name. Whatever way you pronounce it, the guy is not playing well. He can't play right now at the NHL level. He's been bad. He puts Chicago right behind the 8 ball Saturday night, giving up a goal in the first minute against Columbus. So this might be still an Arizona team total over spot, but this is definitely, if Arvid Soderblom is in net tonight for the Chicago Blackhawks, this is absolutely I'm going to trust Chicago, hopefully, to help me out with this, but maybe both teams to score. I'll stay away from that because I don't know if Chicago's offense is salvageable right now, although this is a spot where a dead, tired Arizona jet lag team off the road, they should be able to do some damage, and Ingram hasn't been as good lately either for the Coyotes. So I'm going to go with that first period over, full game over for sure in this game if Arvid Soderblom's in net, and you just got to hope Chicago can help me out with cashing those overs. What do you think here, Matt? Chicago, Arizona.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I'm going to be on the over bifecta, just the first period over and the game over. No trifecta.
Oh, bifecta, I like it. We have to use that.
Yeah.
Oh, nice job.
Yeah. So same boat. I mean, I do think Chicago coming off getting shut out. They're playing a much worse team here in Arizona. Arizona's coming off, a long road trip. I saw someone in the chat, the Dart anytime goal scorer plus 195. He mentioned, whoever wrote in the chat mentioned another frustrating game for him last night. You got to think he'll get some looks tonight. So I don't hate that as a prop either. But yeah, I think Chicago can, score a couple goals here. But, if Soderblom's in net, you got to go over. I mean, it's hard not to. So, and Arizona's been kind of an over team off and on throughout the whole year. I mean, even in the games on that losing streak, they were losing, 6-2 and things like that. So hopefully a lot of goals at the Mullet tonight because, I'll be on the first period over and game over and then may look into some props. Again, another example of two teams that are for sure out of it, really playing to see who's going to get Celebrini. They're in the mix for that. But, those top guys do have, point bonuses to hit. So these are those perfect nights where maybe you see a 5-4 game just because, both teams defensively kind of let up, don't really care. It's, not really that serious of a game. And, you see some guys get some points. I will definitely be on the first period and game over, the bifecta.
There you go. The over bifecta is coined by our man, Matt Robinson, right there. That's good. We'll have to remember that next time we remove the both teams element from that over trifecta. Over bifecta here for Matt with Chicago, Arizona. I'm just looking back, and yes, I remember it. I knew earlier in the season, Arizona and Chicago played in this building, and Arizona just handed it to Chicago, 8-1. I'm looking at it now, back on October the 30th. At Mullet Arena. And yes, it was Arvid Soderblom in net that night for the Chicago Blackhawks. He gave up 7 goals on 22 shots. He eventually got replaced by Peter Mrazek, but it was 8-1 Arizona. It was 3-1 Arizona after the first period. So yeah, the over first period and full game. Chicago did score in the first period against Arizona in that night because it was 3-1. Ah, man, I still might take a smaller chunk of that, both teams to score, because I know the price is going to be good, but definitely focus more on the first period over and the full game overs. There we go. Ice X has got the confidence here in Arvid. Soderblom revenge game. We'll see about that. For it to be a revenge game, you got to be able to play, and I'm not sure this kid can right now in net for the Chicago Blackhawks. Yeah, Carcone's a good look. Carcone against Chicago had a hat trick that night in that 8-1 pasting that Arizona had over the Chicago Blackhawks. So, Mike, I think he scored a couple games ago as well. So maybe Michael Carcone is going to go on a little heater like he had earlier in the year. No question. Cooley, Gunther, Machelli. We've talked a lot about these guys, and they all scored against Washington. Gunther did. against Washington. These are players to look at. Gunther especially, man. Gunther is going to be a really good player. Cooley scored against Washington. Gunther scored against Washington. I was on both of those props in that game. I'm going back to the well, Cooley and Gunther here tonight for Arizona. As far as props go, Rich H likes Nick Schmaltz. At home, I think he does more of his damage. He got an empty netter against Washington, so I don't mind that. And then for Chicago, like I say, the only ones you could really have any sort of confidence in is Bedard's line with Donato, Spezza, and Kurashev. Other than that, it's hard to touch anybody for props with Chicago right now. All right, next up, we got 2 games left, Vancouver and Los Angeles. Canucks minus 112. Actually, it's about even money in most places right now, minus 110, both sides. The total in this game currently 6 shaded to the under in this game. I said after the Canucks lost to this LA team last week at home, 5-1, Rick Tocchet said, we've lost our way. We've lost the details of our game. We've lost a little bit of our structure. Our team's more concerned about stats right now, that eventually that this road trip might be a time to get on and buy low on Vancouver. Buy low. After a little bit of a struggle for the Vancouver Canucks recently, they played a shit ton of games, very compressed schedule, a lot of travel, and it added up. They kind of didn't have practice time. They got away from their the way of play, in my opinion. And look, it was only 2-1 against Anaheim, but Lucas Dostal is why it wasn't 6-1. Like, they were totally the better team than Anaheim. They outshot and outplayed Anaheim badly. They just didn't have the goals to go with it. Dostal was very good in net for Anaheim, which I'm going to get to Carter Hutton, by the way, guest of the show a couple weeks ago. He is going to be submitting to us his up-down goalie rankings in terms of goalies trending up, goalies trending down. I will discuss those after we break down the Tuesday card and give you his list of goalies trending up, playing better the last week or so, and goalies trending down, declining, playing worse the last week or so. So we'll give you some thoughts from the expert goaltender, Carter Hutton, later in the show, his current thoughts on just based on recent form, current form, because full stats lie, full season stats lie. You want to know the current form of these goaltenders, who's been playing better than their full season numbers indicate, who's been playing worse recently than their full season numbers indicate. And Carter Hutton definitely has a good gauge of that. And a good analysis of goaltending, which he had on our show too. So we'll mention his list in a little bit after we do the rest of the card. But I'm on the Canucks here, minus 110. I like them. It's a revenge spot. They're on the road. I think it's time to dial this thing in, and get back to their team play, especially in their own end. And they definitely did a good job of it against Anaheim. 18 shots. They didn't give up the odd man rushes. They didn't have the breakdowns in the defensive zone. I know LA is a capable team, and they've certainly shown some life with Jim Hiller behind the bench. But let's be real, they've also still been inconsistent. They had the 4 wins. Columbus, Pittsburgh in free fall. New Jersey not playing well. They lose to Nashville. They beat a lowly Ducks team. They lose to Calgary and Edmonton. They beat Vancouver 5-1, which was a quality win. And then they do beat New Jersey in Sunday afternoon. But my goodness, any team in the league, I think, would have beat New Jersey Sunday afternoon. That's how bad the New Jersey Devils were on Sunday afternoon against the LA Kings, leading, of course, to the dismissal of Lindy Ruff. So I like it. Revenge spot. Canucks, I think, can get their shit together here on the road a little bit. LA, like I said, a lot of their wins aren't as impressive as you would think. New Jersey falling apart. That was one of the wins. Anaheim, not much to say there. Columbus, not much to say. Pittsburgh, when they're falling apart. New Jersey, when they're not playing well. And they did have a road win against Boston, 5-4 in overtime. That was a good win. But even then, the Bruins were starting to show signs of their struggles that they had until last night. So, yeah, I think in this spot here, Vancouver minus 110 is worth a look. And I don't think they're frauds, man. They're going through a little rough patch. They got to show me a lot more struggles before I'm ready to say that. You use the F word for them, not the one you're thinking of, the other F word, frauds. I mean, I'm not there with Vancouver, not at all. They got a brutal schedule, lots of travel. They're going to get Carson Soucy back too, finally. And this is a guy that was supposed to be a big pillar of strength on the blue line for the Vancouver Canucks. They're going to have him back, it looks like, for this game tonight, which is huge. Tyler Myers out, the chaos giraffe, as Rich H calls him, with the lower body injury. right there for them. So, like I say, they're regressing. They're having a rough patch because no one's going to go 82 games playing, tremendous hockey. And Vancouver's hit their little rough patch. And I like this spot for them on the road. They're galvanized. They're coming together as a team. They're going to be tight knit. They're going to spend a lot of time together, bonding experience, revenge spot, reasonable price. Put it all together, Vancouver for me, -110. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. What do you think here, Matt? Vancouver, LA?
Yeah, this is a tough one for me. I think it's one of the more fair pick'ems, if you will. I think this could go either way. So I'm going to stay off the sides, but I'm going to go back to that over bifecta and take the first period over. And then I actually jumped in on the game total over at 5.5, -120. So got that extra little half goal. So a 6 would be a win for me. But yeah, I think, if Vancouver does kind of figure it out a little bit, they're obviously a team capable of scoring some goals. I know both of these teams are top 10 defensive teams. So that obviously scares me a little bit, but I just think LA has been playing well offensively. They've been putting some pucks in the net. I want to say for LA, their last 4 straight games went over 5.5. Vancouver, it's been kind of back and forth, but obviously that game against Anaheim, they could have had 8 goals. I did watch a lot of that game, and I've drawn a blank on the goalie that played for the Ducks, but that was an unbelievable game for him. So I think he had 54 saves on 55 shots or something stupid. So, yeah, I think there will be some goals here. I'm hoping they're early and often, but I think over 5.5 is a very fair look for two teams that have the capable offense of these two teams.
This is actually the same goalie matchup tonight that we saw last week in Vancouver, where LA won 5-1. It's going to be the same 2 in net. Talbot for the Kings, Demko for the Canucks. And I know Talbot got the better of that one. I still am so annoyed that he gave up that goal so quickly against New Jersey the other night. He actually played really well after that. But again, New Jersey wasn't putting up much of a push once they fell behind in that game. Don't be surprised if things balance out tonight. We see Talbot not be as good as he was last week against Vancouver, and we see Demko play a lot better tonight than he did against LA last week. But this is a great game, fascinating game. Hey, the case is there if you like the Kings. The case is there. They've been in good enough form and certainly a little bit better form than Vancouver lately. But like I say, this is a nice little spot here, redemption for last week, where it kind of got humbled by LA in their building. I think the Canucks bring a good effort. Hopefully it's enough to get the dub here tonight. All right, next up, we've got the final game of this Tuesday card. The Dallas Stars, the time of the show Matt's been waiting for. The Dallas Stars against the San Jose Sharks. We've got Dallas minus 390 to 420 in this game in some places as road favorites. The total in this game currently 6, shaded to the over in this matchup. Let's see what the goaltending is, because there's already bets I like that based on the goaltending. If it's what I think it might be, we're getting in. Yeah, it's Kokkonen here for San Jose. That's all I need to see. Give me a Kaapo Kokkonen sighting, and I'll give you Dallas first period team total over that I lost the other night, shockingly, because Magnus Corona decided I'm going to pitch a first period shutout over the Dallas Stars at home on Saturday night, and then proceed to give up just 2 goals in regulation / overtime against them as well, forcing Dallas to barely beat the lowly San Jose Sharks in a shootout. But he did play well, Magnus Corona. So we'll give him that. All I needed to see was Kaapo Kakko, a.k.a. Kaapo Kokkonen in net, and that's good enough for me. First period team total over at that plus price. Get me 2 goals in the opening period, Dallas, and I'll be happy. Would certainly lean first period over. Full game over as well. He's an over machine goaltender right now, Kokkonen. Simple as that. You go back to when he came into the game for Blackwood, 7 goals allowed, 5 goals allowed to Anaheim. Couldn't hold the lead against Minnesota. Gives up 4 goals in that game. Wild comeback to beat the Sharks 4-3 with Kokkonen in net. So we're going to try to earn back what we did not get Saturday night with Dallas here. That first period team total over at a great plus number, a great plus price there with that. Little first period over and a little full game over here as well with the Stars and the Sharks in this one. I know it was an under in Dallas, but quite honestly, maybe Corona is going to play better in that game than Kokkonen's going to play tonight, because certainly Corona's performance Saturday against Dallas at home, Matt, it was better than anything we've seen out of Kokkonen here the last few games for the San Jose Sharks. So from that standpoint, I think we got a good chance to see the goals early and often for Dallas. And that first period team total at Pinnacle is plus 188. It's a great price for that. Dallas over 1.5 in the first period team total. Full game over, first period over. We'll take a little piece of both of those as well. Matt, what do you think here? Let's get the graphic changed. There we go. Dallas Stars, San Jose Sharks.
Yeah. Obviously, that Saturday game was not what a Dallas Stars fan would have hoped, but at the end of the day, they got the 2 points against a team that is so far out of the playoff hunt. Who fucking cares? So, but honestly, because of how that Saturday game played out, I think this is one of those spots.
They might have more attention on San Jose tonight because of that, right? That's what you're thinking.
Yeah, but I just think because that game was so tight, I mean, San Jose is obviously the inferior team. I think this is one of those Nashville spots. Do I think it's going to be 9-2? Not necessarily. But I do think Dallas is like, you know what? We had to go into a 7-round shootout with this team. It's going to be probably a pretty empty arena at the Shark Tank. They just want to go in, you know, put 5 goals in the first 2 periods and you know, get out of there with an easy win. So that's why I lean towards the first period total. The team total, Dallas Stars 1.5. I think they definitely can get 2 goals in the first. You could look at a first period puck line if you want. It's just not that good of odds for them to have the lead after 1. I think it's like even money or minus 110, something like that. But definitely on the over. There's a handful of props I like, some of which I'll get into later on in the show. And then again, I took it on Saturday and it obviously missed by a lot, but the team total over 4.5 with Capo in net, I think, you know, Dallas to get 5 goals is not asking that much. Again, just because of what happened Saturday. If Saturday's game was 6-1 Dallas, I would be on a lot less in this game because I think, you know, it would be a tighter game. So it's because of the Saturday game that I feel Dallas comes out, you know, and really stomps them tonight. So, yeah, I'll be on at least the bifecta and the Dallas Stars team first period over 1.5. And then we'll see what else I jump on a little bit closer to game time.
And it's Jake Ottinger, by the way, again.
And
Dallas.
and I should add, that Tanev is in transit to San Jose, and he's a game time decision to play. I think, you know, if Tanev's in the lineup, I'll be excited, you know, to see his first game in Dallas, of course. But I think that'll give the guys a boost if he does in fact play. Like, hey, let's show this guy that we're a real contender. You know, he should be excited to be here. Let's, you know, have a good ride. So I'll be watching the beat writers for Dallas, you know, all the way up to game time to see if they announce that. And also Joel Hanley got claimed by Calgary, so it was almost like a little back into the trade for Calgary to pick up Joel Hanley. So I wish him the best. You know, he's obviously a 6'7" D, but he is the most reliable guy I've ever seen be able to miss 15 games in a row, healthy scratch, and then jump in and play a consistent game. You know, he's a very uncommon in that aspect. So wish him the best in Calgary. You know, got a good depth 6'7" defenseman. So.
All right, there we go. Good analysis. And yeah, great job mentioning the status of Chris Tanev, who actually we thought a few days ago that he was definitely going to be good to go and make his debut for sure by tonight. And even that's not a certainty right now. So might have to wait again. And by the way, when Tanev does eventually make his Stars debut, something to keep in mind, whenever he's in the lineup, that's good for, doesn't mean a game can't go over the total, but it does hurt the overs a little bit. He is a huge piece defensively, and he helps the unders. Block shots, shot blocking machine, always good positioning in his own zone. So that's why they got him, because they know they got to shore up the D a little bit. Dallas going into the playoffs. As far as props go in this game, William Eklund, by the way, illness for San Jose. He's a game time decision. Barabanov is day-to-day. Blackwood, of course, remains out. Couture and Hurdle are on IR. But Anthony Duclair, man, he's heating up. You could even go with Granlund, Zetterlund, Eklund if he plays. Sturm has even chipped in lately for San Jose. Depth scoring, Zadina. There's actually some decent San Jose props tonight. Now, again, I don't know how much they're going to score, Dallas and Ottinger in net, but there's definitely some props there because they've picked it up. And yes, for Dallas, You know who we're going with: Logan Stankoven, Wyatt Johnston, and yes, I'm going back to the well with Mr. Little Joe, Little Joe Pavelski against the San Jose Sharks in San Jose in the Shark Tank. He didn't score the other night against the Sharks, but I think that angle is still a good one tonight. Joe Pavelski to find the back of the net for the Dallas Stars tonight against his old team. All right, great stuff, great show. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button if you haven't done so already. Before we get into all the stuff that we always take care of, the usual business, Carter Hutton, okay, he's going to send us goalie analysis. Goalies trending up, goalies trending down. Here's what he had on his list for this week. Goalies trending up. Believe it or not, Karel Vejmelka for the Arizona Coyotes. And actually, if you watch the way he played against Ottawa and then again against Washington on Sunday, his last two starts, Carter Hutton may be onto something there. He definitely played a lot better for a guy that's had an awful, awful season, and especially awful lately. Vejmelka did play better those last two wins for Arizona, and Carter Hutton just sees his technique and his form is better. He's not moving as much. He's staying more stationary to the puck, to the shooter. And those are things he's observed in Vejmelka here the last couple of starts. And his other goaltender trending up, I don't think anyone is going to debate this, Philip Grubauer, Seattle Kraken. He's been lights out here recently for them. He's been outstanding. So Grubauer trending up, says Carter Hutton. Vejmelka trending up, says Carter Hutton. And the other one is Lucas Dostal for Anaheim. And can't argue with that either. He's the reason they had a chance to win on Sunday against Vancouver. Faced up like almost 40 shots in that game and kept it 2-1 in that one. And he's had a lot of those games lately for the Anaheim Ducks. So those are the goalies he has trending up. Dostal, Grubauer, Vejmelka here in the last week or so. Goaltenders trending down. Believe it or not, Thatcher Demko for Vancouver. And hopefully tonight's not one of those nights that he continues to trend down. But he's got Thatcher Demko trending down for Vancouver, just compared to what he was. Like, it's not like he sucks all of a sudden. It's just compared to earlier in the season. He's not been nearly as sharp here the last little bit for Vancouver. And the other goaltender he has trending down on the decline just in recent form, Linus Ullmark for the Boston Bruins. And he put Linus Ullmark on his list. And this is a guy that he's friends with. Remember, Carter Hutton and Linus Ullmark were teammates with the Buffalo Sabres. So it must have pained him to put Linus Ullmark, on his list of goaltenders trending down. And I think that's kind of the reason why they gave Swayman the start. Swayman's been better than Ullmark this year for Boston. That's been really what we've seen. So there you go. Those are Carter Hutton's list of goalies trending up and goalies trending down. And we'll get a list from him for that every week here on the show. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Patreon.com/IceGuys, just $10 per month. Again, make sure you get on board. Our daily sides, totals, and player props are posted there each and every day. Goalie charts, totals charts, bonus video content, Patreon exclusive live betcast as well. We will have one Patreon exclusive live betcast in the month of March. Lighter on the betcasts this month because of the NCAA tournament and March Madness taking place, but we'll make up for it in April. We're going to have a bunch late in the regular season, Stanley Cup playoffs starting. Get ready. We're cranking up the betcasts big time starting in April. So looking forward to that. And again, sign up. Your $10 per month goes a long way to keeping the show going long term. Sign up and subscribe. Patreon.com/IceGuys, just $10 per month. And we have an announcement to make today about the date of our free-for-all public live betcast for the month of March. We have a date. Here it is on the screen, Tuesday, March 26th. Okay, the final Tuesday of March. That is going to be our public free-for-all live betcast here in the month of March. March 26th. It is a very solid night of hockey taking place that night as well. So right near the end of the month, Tuesday, March 26th, we will be back with you for another Ice Guys live betcast that everyone will be able to participate in. You want to know what some of these matchups are Tuesday, March 26th? How about Boston, Florida? Playoff rematch. Does that sound good? How about a Philadelphia, New York Rangers game? Divisional battle. Both teams in playoff spots right now. Does that sound good? Devils and Leafs. We'll see where New Jersey is at that time. Vegas and Nashville. Teams battling for positioning in the Western Conference playoff race. How about Edmonton at Winnipeg? Tuesday, March 26th. Some really solid games. It peters out later in the night. Columbus, Arizona, Anaheim, Seattle, Dallas, San Jose. I can't really talk how great those games are, but there are a bunch there that are really good on that night. So Tuesday, March 26th, our next Ice Guys live betcast. Make sure you join us for that. As always, DM or email me or Alex for a spot on the betcast, and we will send you a link for it before it begins so that you can join us. All right, bargain bin special of the night and best bets to wrap up the show coming up in just a moment, right after we hear from our great daily sponsors, Boston Hemp Inc. All right, Boston Hemp Inc. Make sure you check them out. Get your products there on the website and use the promo code ICEGUYS to get 20% off all your orders over at bostonhempinc.com. All right, it is time for Bargain Bin Special of the night. I know our man of the hour, Alex P. Smith, is not on the show on camera today with us. He's in the chat, but he did it again. You know, another bargain bin hit for Alex P. Smith last night with Jared McCann over 1.5 points plus 300 for the Seattle Kraken. We'll see what Matt and I can come up with. And by the way, I'll put it up on the screen right now. Alex is going with Matt Dumba at plus 950 to score a goal tonight for the Arizona Coyotes against the Chicago. I got to bet it. He's feeling it right now with the bargain bin special. Alex with Matt Dumba plus 950 against for the Arizona Coyotes against the Chicago Blackhawks for his bargain bin special of the night. I like it quite a bit. Matt Robinson, what have you got here for us tonight with the bargain bin?
Yeah, so per chat, I'm going to go back to the Stars on this one. I know last time I was on the show, I tried to jump on another team for the bargain bin, but yeah, I'm going to take this down to San Jose. I think with Dallas, I think that Marchman, Sagan, Duchesne line has really struggled without Sagan. So I'm not going to look at that line tonight. I think I'm going to go back to Old Faithful, Wyatt Johnston, 2 points tonight. I'm seeing it at like plus 325. He's back on the line with Ben and Stankoven. If this is one of those 5-1, 6-0, high scoring game for Dallas, I look to him to get, a handful of points. I may even sprinkle on 3 points, but just as far as the bargain bin goes, I'm going to take Wyatt Johnston 2 points tonight.
There you go. Wyatt Johnston over 1.5 points. Dallas Stars bargain bin special for Matt Robinson. My bargain bin special of the night. Sometimes you get bargain bin specials that fall into your lap and you just like, wow, this is incredible. And we've got this here tonight in the Edmonton-Boston game. He's scoring tonight, man. Pops is in the building on Edmonton Oilers television in the booth, calling the game for Rogers Sportsnet with Jack Michaels. And I'm talking about Louis DeBrusk and his son Jake. Every time Louis is there for an Edmonton-Boston game, he is scoring a goal. It's uncanny. And it happened in Edmonton a few weeks ago when the Bruins played the Oilers. There's Louis calling the game in between the benches, and here's his son Jake scoring in the very same game. He does so again tonight. He scored a beauty last night against Toronto to start getting his confidence back. Jake DeBrusk, Boston Bruins, plus 360 at PointsBet for my bargain bin special of the night. Great. It's actually one of my favorite bargain bin specials I've had in recent memory. So it's a great situation, angle, spot, price. Jake DeBrusk plus 360 for my bargain bin special of the night. All right. Whoops. Wrong button. All right, it is time for best bets here to wrap up this show. Matt, we'll start with you. What do you like for best bet?
Yeah, so I'm going to take it to a well that's been really good to me in the past. And because I feel confident that Dallas should score 2 goals in the first period of this game, but also knowing that they are very good at giving up early goals to inferior teams. They gave up the goal against San Jose early in the first period on Saturday. So I'm going to take the first period over in the Dallas-San Jose game, minus 135 for that over 1.5. I feel like it's a safe bet. I hope that it's just Dallas getting 2 goals, but on the off chance Ottinger gives one up early and then Dallas can score one, that's an easy hit. So my best bet tonight, Dallas, first period over 1.5.
And that's the game first period over 1.5, right? That's not the team total. That's just the over 1.5, right?
Yeah, correct. Because I feel confident in the Dallas team total over 1.5. I feel like the first period over at minus 135 is a great price as far as my best bet goes.
All right, there it is. Dallas, San Jose over 1.5 minus 135 first period for Matt Robinson here with his best bet. My best bet, it's also going to be a first period best bet. New Jersey's going to have a ton of energy early in this game, jumping, at the coaching change. All teams come out strong, come out, with force, skating. First game after a coaching change, great energy. I expect that from New Jersey. Stolar's in net likely for Florida. I think they can get on the board early, but I think Florida will be at their best early coming off the back-to-back because, look, you lose your legs on the back-to-back later in the game, not necessarily early in the game. So I think both teams, great energy. I think we should see good pace. I think we got a great chance to see a couple of goals in the first period, and I think the situation dictates it as well. So let's go with over 1.5 minus 136, Florida, New Jersey. First period over 1.5 minus 136 for my best bet here for this Tuesday NHL card. That'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. We appreciate it very much. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms. Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. Great stuff from everyone in the chat. The interaction's awesome. Look, we've been eclipsing 250 live viewers. We've even been getting to 300 live viewers in some shows recently, so we appreciate it very much. And again, hit the like button on the way out. For Matt Robinson, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Tuesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will be back with you tomorrow on Wednesday. Alex B. Smith back in the house, ready to rock tomorrow on Wednesday for another edition of the Ice Guys.